Age is a great antidote to vanity.
He won't have a mirror in his room anymore.
Well, quite right. Chap wants to know what he looks like and you always go and dig out his passport.
You're looking very elegant.
Thank you.
Well, not say piss elegant. What's that stuff you're drinking?
Coffee.
Ugh. Nasty continental habit. Irritates the lining of the stomach, you know.
Better than gumming up the works with cholesterol like you're doing, I'm here to tell you.
I was wondering what you were here for.
Listen, if you pick a fight with me, you'll get as good as you give.
Ha! I doubt it. Continental breakfast, indeed. Bit of bohemian posturing.
Father, it's my life. I'm a big boy now.
You must be the judge of that.
Please shut up.
I heard your arrival last night, incidentally. Followed by a shot. Pity you missed.
Wonderful old man. Worth his weight in pure shit.
He thinks as much of you.
Don't I know it? Do you think he'd let me take him on a nice long walk? Overtax his heart a bit.
He usually takes a little stroll after breakfast.
Where to?
No idea. Something's afoot. I sometimes think even he might be having an affair.
If only. Who with?
He's been seeing a lot of Miss Hicks recently.
Miss Hicks, who's she?
That extraordinary crone who harangues the choir on Thursday evenings, you remember. She rides a bicycle fitted with an electric buzzer to ward off potential rapists.
Of course, the Valkyrie.
It's too much to hope for, though, isn't it? Too straightforward.
Yeah, I suppose that's how he'd do it if he did it. Object, affair, method, stand by your beds. Weapon gleaming in the early light.
That is smartish retreat.
Poor mother.
Yeah. You know, I hardly remember her.
She must have been utterly stark, staring bonkers to marry him.
Well, suppose we all have our Achilles heel.
What can hers have been? Perhaps she advertised for him. Inexperienced young woman seeks strict disciplinarian.
Do you know how long you'll be staying?
No.
It's just so that I know for shopping. You have to be back Monday, presumably.
No, actually.
Oh, so?
Oh, dear. The BBC and I have parted company.
I see. You got the sack then in the end?
They accepted my resignation, yes.
I suppose it was what I think it was.
Well, yes, so they said. I had been getting these so-called alcoholic blackouts. Odd stretches of time erased completely. It's a great relief, actually. Frankly, I could welcome the advent of total amnesia with open arms now.
So, what will you do?
No idea. There have been problems at home, too.
You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Jeffrey's kicked you out, I suppose.
He didn't exactly kick me out. He sort of froze me out. Oh, I'm all right. I've cut down the drinking to an absolute minimum. And I shall stay here in the country for a while, get some fresh air and get fit. Oh, by the way, I had a phone call last night from a woman threatening to plunge herself into the Orwell.
Oh?
She thought this was the Samaritan.
Well, yes, that's happened before. What did you say?
I told her to go ahead and not make such a song and dance about it.
You didn't.
I did. Psychologically, I believe it's the best approach.
You know, you must do something useful. For instance, they're always looking for volunteers to help out at that school up the road. You know, the one for mentally subnormal children.
I'm sure my years at the BBC would be an excellent grounding for that.
James, honestly. Look, if you feel like doing something physical, you could wash up the breakfast things for me.
Okay. Where's the mop?
Straight in front of you.
Yeah, listen to this, both of you. I will not tolerate that sort of thing in this house. But when the motorcycle gangs come to invade our villages by night, they will find a handful of us rallied and prepared, ready for the chaos in the dark. Things are in the saddle and ride mankind.
Rubbish.
Do you think she was listening?
I doubt it.
Were you?
Oh, yes.
Enjoying yourself.
Ouch!
Don't let me disturb you. I'm having a wonderful throw out.
Well, can I give you a hand?
Stay where you are. Any questions? Well, come on.
It's difficult to know where to begin. I'm not joining anyone's private army for a start.
It is not a private army. It is a paramilitary regional volunteer service.
Whatever. If things get as bad as you say, I shall be quite content to watch. I have no intention of standing in the high street with you and Miss Hicks trying to ward off youths in black leather with a pitchfork. Quite the contrary.
Don't you believe it? When it comes to a showdown, you'll show your true colours. Well, you do vote Tory, don't you?
I usually vote, if at all, for whichever side looks like doing the least dirt on me personally. Of recent years, that has tended to be the Conservatives, yes.
Well, then.
Irresponsible, I grant you. But then I'm not really a political animal. From each according to his accountant, to each according to his greed. That's my credo as far as I have one. Actually, whatever I may do or say personally, I happen to believe the other lot are right.
I'm in some difficulty here. Could I have that again? The left, right? Why?
Well, for instance, I don't believe God meant there to be poor people.
If God hadn't meant there to be poor people, don't you think by now he'd have united the Labour Party?
You know, Dad, talking to you is like stepping into a back number of Punch.
You'll see. When it comes to a crunch, I shall act first and talk afterwards.
Oh, I've no doubt you'll talk afterwards. Actually, you've been comparatively lucid for the last 5 minutes. But you lucid with your usual dotty logic. Oswald Mosley meets Don Quixote meets Confucius. Zen in the art of fascism. Oh, dear.
Fascism, indeed. I remember the last war if no one else does. We had a leader in those days, our finest hour.
Amazing, isn't it, the amount of junk that accumulates over the years?
I'll say.
By the way, I'm going to marry Eric Lister.
You'll get tempered in the fire that's coming to...
You're who? Well, Eric, you are a knave. Snatching away my little sister so suddenly.
Don't be hearty, James. It doesn't suit you. It's been on the cards for some time, as a matter of fact.
Had it? No one told me.
I'd been thinking it over, that's all.
You must have been on tenterhooks, weren't you, Eric?
Yeah, well, no, actually, I'd forgotten all about it. I sort of thought it had all blown over.
Oh, I see. Yeah. You do know my sister doesn't sleep, don't you?
Ignore him.
Well, I'm hoping marriage will cure her of that problem.
Yes, of course it's worth a try. She's tried everything else, as you probably know. Earplugs, blindfolds, self-hypnosis, drugs. Your wedding night should be a riot.
I did warn you, didn't I?
Oh, don't mind me.
I don't. Well, here's to it.
It.
Bacon said, "He that hath a wife and children hath given hostages to fortune, for they are impediments to great enterprises, either of virtue or mischief."
What do you say to that?
Oh, well, I'm not much of a one for great enterprises, I'm afraid, so I shan't miss much, shall I? Look, I don't mean to pry, James, but have you never considered marriage?
Only in the abstract.
Oh, really? Haven't you ever got close?
I find the difficulty with relationships, actually, isn't finding someone suitable that it's possible to live with, but being able to reveal oneself to that person and be tolerated for what one is, without finding the other person an object of pity or contempt, as it were.
Anyone want an outspan?
Thank you, no.
You're fairly quiet today, Dad.
A wise old owl lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. We should all be like that wise old bird.
And gatherings like these would be singularly pointless occasions.
Aren't they, anyway?
The kettle's on. Why don't you sit down?
You're in my chair. Ah, here's the thing. Look at this.
I'm looking. It's a balloon.
Right first time. Now, I take a pencil, so, and I make a number of large dots all over the surface of the balloon. So, I expect you're wondering why I'm doing this, eh?
Not particularly, no.
Relativity theory. Simple demonstration. Now, you imagine the balloon as a cluster of galaxies.
I'll try.
Good man. Now, space, light, and time curve around a large mass. The universe is expanding and contracting over a huge time scale. At the moment, it's expanding. The space between the galaxies is getting greater.
careful, for God's sake.
Keep an eye on the dots. Compare ancient Hindu mythology, the breathing of Brahman, the universal life force. The cosmos as a pair of lungs. In, out.
Is this going to be what they call the Big Bang theory?
Oh, damn.
I see. More of a slow fart.
You get the idea. Well, the imagination needs some aid if it's to appreciate the mystery.
If you think my imagination can be fired by the sight of a spotty balloon, I'm afraid you're wrong. Tell me something, Father. How is it you're the only one in this family who's ever had any energy? Why do you do so many varied things, tearing from one to another like a demented ferret?
I'll tell you why, since you ask. Because I bate not a jot of heart or hope, that's why, but still bear up and steer straight on.
Who said that?
Satan.
Appropriate.
Paradise Lost. And Nietzsche said, drive not the hero from thy heart. And some other customer said, passion is the true measure of man's power. Passion? Huh? What do you know about passion? It embarrasses you. What do you know about courage or honor or strength or any other damn thing with a tuppenny halfpenny candle?
Nothing. You're absolutely right. I know nothing about any of those things. I have never, I don't believe, witnessed any of them outside of the arts, as far as I can remember.
Well, at least you're humble enough to admit it.
Humility? Yes, seen plenty of that. Endless stepping down and stepping aside, but never joy or recklessness or grace. If you think what you're displaying now is anything more than a prolonged death rattle, you're wrong.
Damn you, Nullifidian.
Give us a smile. Come on. Nullifidian. You know so much too, don't you? How come?
Your fault, that.
Mine? Why?
Started when you were up at Oxford. Kept sending books back to be stored.
Oxford.
I opened one in an idle moment. Enjoyed it. Went on from there, read the lot. After that, there was no stopping me. I read everything, especially in the army. There's one thing about a book, not like a woman. You can take it anywhere. Not like a woman.
It can't have been easy for her, Father, can it?
If there's such a place as paradise, your mother's hating me. I'm not a cleric anymore. A game for old men and idiots. I ought to be working. You know half your trouble? You're a romantic.
I'm not a romantic.
Yes, you are. Damned incurable. Emotion, sensation, fancy, no underpinning, no common sense, no form.
You're the romantic. Stuck out here in the back and beyond, fighting imaginary battles, dreaming.
I'm not dreaming, I'm building. Terribly important for me to get things right before I die, you see. Terribly important. Duty to myself.
You know, you're a total stranger to me, Dad. Total.
Naturally. Tension of opposites. I might have got on with a grandson if you'd ever had the decency to breathe.
No. We have some family business to settle before tomorrow.
Nothing to discuss.
With particular reference to Mother. I mean, we were both away at school, Emily and I, when it happened. We've never been told, not unambiguously, of why a woman of, what was it, 35?
I loathed her. In the end, I felt nothing but contempt for her defeated, withered, neurotic spirit. You'll say I drove her to it. She died because she didn't want to live. Christ!
You know what, Dad? You're a killer. You've destroyed most of what's in Emily. You've annihilated me. Now, you're going to tell me exactly what you did to Mother.
Yeah, Dad.
I'm going to give you 3 seconds, Dad. Sorry.
Nothing to discuss.
1.
that thing done.
2, 3. Foiled. Foiled by a bloody hedgehog. Father? Emily. Emily's dead. Of course I'm bloody sure. I seem to have shot him with an empty gun.